because sometimes I turn this one on.
We'll turn on W2.
Is it okay with everybody if I take my mic off my mouth? My thing, whatever this is called. It's not a great week. It'll be a better week. One day, it'll get better. It'll get better. It's a new microphone, so I've got to learn how to breathe again in microphones. Can you tell? This one's doing like, Max, maybe, I don't know, we can turn it down a little bit. Mine? Because it's new. Can you still hear me? Is that okay? Tell me when we're on, Max. Okay. So, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We have a few things we have to do. I want to remind you so you can remind me to do these things. First of all, make sure you know everybody who's here. Everybody say hi to each other and make sure everybody knows everybody. If you don't know everybody, I know it's hard behind masks, but make sure everybody knows who everybody is before you leave. So we've got to count the Omer, and we are the 41st day of the Omer. We're supposed to count all the way up to 49, which is a good thing. 49 has something to do with the Torah portion also. We're supposed to be talking about letting the land lay fallow every 7 years, and then on the 50th year, we're supposed to, everything goes back to the way it was. I want to talk about that for a very little bit later. So the counting means something for that too. The Torah portion is a double portion. So the other thing I wanted to mention before we even start is that the second Torah portion is the end of Leviticus. And Leviticus has kind of been building and building and building, lots of laws. Mostly they have to do with the Levites. I used to think Leviticus meant laws, but it means Levites. Most of them are supposed to do with the Levites, and most of us don't have to worry about that. If you come to Torah study, I'll tell you my Levite joke again. I've got a really good Levite joke, and if you don't come to Torah study, just ask me one day, and I'll tell it to you. Tomorrow, Torah study is going to be in person and on Zoom, so it makes it even easier. But easier for you, harder for me. I'm stressing about how we do the hybrid version of the Zoom. Max came and helped me try to see if we can set up the monitors and everything today. But at the end of the Torah portion, at the end of Leviticus, it talks about if we keep God's commandments, then there's all kinds of blessings in store for us. Rain comes when it's supposed to, and people are healthy, and all the good things that you can imagine. And then there's this part about, but if we don't, and then there's this whole list of terrible things that could happen to us that we don't like reading, we don't like thinking about, to the point where sometimes we say it like in one very quiet breath. We try to do it as quietly as we can and straight. But I still, you might have to convince me that this is the way it works. I still don't like to think that that's how it works. I like thinking that God may reward us if we do good things. But I don't like thinking that God is punishing us, that the things that are going on right now are punishments. So it would take a lot of you convincing me to believe that that's what's going on. I don't think that this pandemic is God mad at us about something, and I certainly don't believe it's God mad at us about things like not remembering to check our mezuzahs or something ridiculous like there were rabbis that said that about Katrina, that if you didn't check your mezuzahs every 7 years, that's why so many people's houses were devastated. Like there were rabbis who said things like that about 9/11. I don't believe that's the way God works. I do believe that decisions have consequences, but I like focusing on the positive ones and not on the negative ones, although I realize that there are obviously sometimes negative ones, but I don't think that's how it works. So even with all of that, the point that I want to make about those terrible things is that the guideline, the thing that we're supposed to learn is, even if we make mistakes, God is really good about forgiving. and God will forgive anyway. So all we have to do is say, oh, I messed up, and then start all over again. And God is really happy about taking us back or stopping whatever punishment or whatever. So just keep being nice and being good to each other, smile, and look what you did. You came here already, that was a good thing. So whatever it is, and I'm not kidding, I don't think that that's the way it works, and it will take a lot of convincing for you to convince me that's how it works. That it was like when Mimi Hussey, may her memory be a blessing, said, she called me one day and she said, Rabbi, she said, I had lunch with my friends and they were not Jewish, and they said, what do the Jews believe about heaven and hell? And she said, I didn't know what to tell them. I said, well, what did you tell them? She said, I panicked. I said, we believe in heaven, but we don't believe in hell. And I said, I love that answer. And that's kind of how I believe. It doesn't bother me that we get rewarded all the time for doing good things. It does bother me that horrible punishments will come on us for doing something like not remembering to check our mezuzah. I think we're good people. I'm looking at this group. I mean you too. If we're good people, it's hard to imagine. So you want to convince me, convince me. We are going to try. I'll ask you if you want to do this. Adam and I toyed with this idea. We didn't expect a lot of people, and now we have like 100,000 people in this room right now. So tell me what you want to do. I said, what if we did a singing service where if you can sing it, we'll sing it, and if you can't sing it, then we skip it. I got one yes, I got a thumbs up. Anybody want to do that? So if you can read fast, you can read the parts that are the reading parts. Otherwise, we're going to do some singing, and it'll be a shorter service. And I do have that one other little lesson I wanted to tell you about because I think it's cool, and we'll do that later if I remember. So we're going to begin first, before I walk over there, take a breath and remember that it's Shabbat. Release whatever stress you had from the week. Just let it go. Let it out. I did something interesting. I've already been to a Shabbat service today. I got an email this week from the World Union of Progressive Judaism, which is the Reform movement equivalent in the world. Wherever there's liberal congregations in the world, Reform congregations, that's where they are. And they have started something new, especially since so many congregations are either online only still or also online. And today's service was from a congregation that's only 7 years old. I didn't even know about them, from Rome, Italy. And I'm thinking, I got this. I can't wait to do this. And I tried, and 7:30 for them was 12:30 my time, and I tried to log in, and you clicked on the link here, and I know what it feels like on the other side because you click on this, and they send you to an email, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with the email? It's a little bit like what everybody tries to go through here. So they sent me the link. So I got to participate in the last chunk of it. And it was interesting. I wanted to hear more of the Roman Jewish melodies to the prayers, and I didn't get to hear that. They were using melodies from a number of different places. In fact, the rabbi was in Jerusalem, and the cantor was in Utah or something ridiculous like that. I have no idea. She had a beautiful voice, and she was singing lovely melodies, but not Roman Jewish melodies, because I know those. But they did something very sweet, and I think we're going to incorporate some of those things in our songs. So I'll share that with you in a moment. But first, we let all of the stress out and take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Try again. Let it out slowly. We turn to page 82, and we rise to sing the blessing for the candles. You can look at the fact that they're flickering flames, but we're going to sing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Waggle at everybody. Shabbat Shalom while I move over here. And you may be seated. We're going to go back to page 80, we're going to continue on page 84. So this is what they did. They did this after the service was over, which I thought was an unusual place to put this. And since we were all on Zoom, the rabbi said, we can't, normally if we were together at this stage in the service, they would all get together and they would put their arms around each other and they would welcome the angels, and as if each other were angels. That's what this prayer does, the welcoming the angels. And they would do that. He said, so since we're on Zoom and we're not in arm's length, I want you to take your hands and grasp them together and pretend that you're holding on to everybody else. And I want you to make your elbows go out like this. And I want you to kind of sway from one side of your Zoom screen to the other so that you were connecting each other. And it was very adorable. And we did that. And we could all see I had to move up because I was like sitting too far back. And we did that. And we were zooming with each other and holding each other. But this is page 84. It's a new melody that you're not used to doing. We've done it a few times, but it's really fun. Page 84. And I'm going to turn this on because this one comes with rhythm accompaniment.
Hold on. I didn't know we were going to
Page
officially
84.
do that.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Try that again. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was just fun. That's fun. I kept forgetting that I was playing drums too, so sorry about that. Every once in a while I would be messing up because my hands are, we're supposed to do that. We're going to continue on page 85. For it's called the Chatzi Kaddish, which means the half a Kaddish. It's a shorter one than the other ones, and we sing it. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah, be'alma divra chiruteh, v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kariv, v'miru, amen. Yehesh merabah mevarach, la'alam ul'almei almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ומרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
And I guess we go to the bottom of page 87. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. And we don't have melodies for the things that come between, so Adam takes over at the top of page 91. La 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 la
La la la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamoch ba'elim Adonai, mi kamoch nehdav hakodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
I have a tradition that I don't usually sing things in Hebrew if there's no transliteration for it. But have any of you been to summer camp where they sang, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu. But we don't have the transliteration, and I don't want to do that and take new we'll find a way. Page 92. Vish. That's way better. Put your fingers where they belong, and then we can. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uveinu
אותי לעולם,
אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We rise on page 93 for the tefillah. And since we can sing these, we'll do 2 paragraphs in Hebrew. So if you need the English, you're going to have to look at the English. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Top of page 94. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol ata, Rav lehoshia, Mechalkel chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishene afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidomelach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. You may be seated. This one doesn't have a transliteration, but there's a lot of English that we have to make up for in this crowd, so I'm going to do page 95 in the middle of the page. We like this one. Ritzei, Ritzei, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahavat tikabel Utehi leratzon tamid, Utehi leratzon tamid, Avodat Yisrael Amecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, She'otecha levadecha, B'yira na'avod. She'otecha levadecha, B'yira na'avod. We continue with a prayer for peace on page 96.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lekol ha'shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
We take this moment to sing in silence. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל העולם, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru, imru, Amen. Don't let me forget the blessing for healing, because I forgot it the last 2 weeks in a row, I think. But before we do that, we need to do the blessing for the Omer. So I told you where we are in our Omer. Where are we in our Omer? 41. So the blessing is almost the same as we say for candles, because we're fulfilling a mitzvah. So we start with Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. You made us holy by giving us commandments, mitzvot. You commanded us about counting of the Omer. Hayom echad ve'arba'im yom shehem chamisha shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 41st day, making 5 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. 5 weeks and 6 days. How much more do we have to go? We're getting there. We're getting there. It's getting exciting. Standing at Sinai, one of the most exciting things that we have ever done as human beings. And we're getting there. As a matter of fact, if you closed your eyes, if that's what it takes, whatever it takes to get to, how peaceful is it if you imagine yourself standing at the foot of a mountain? What mountain are you thinking about if you imagine yourself at the foot of a mountain? Is it a green mountain? Is it a sparse desert mountain? Do you have a few mountains in your repertoire that you can call upon and try to imagine? And does it give you peace? Does it make you feel intimidated? You're so small and it's so big. Is there something awe-inspiring about that? If you're in your favorite place right now, something that gave you absolute peace, just quiet, what would it be? Where would you be? Yeah. For many people, this is where they'd be. There's a mountain, there are mountains that I remember in Israel that absolute peace. And when I climbed Mount Sinai, I don't think it was Mount Sinai. It wasn't the same kind of peace as I found in other mountains. New York State is filled with beautiful green mountains, and they're very peaceful. But those mountains, those sparse wilderness mountains, absolute peace for me, just absolute peace. And I would see the sunrise over the mountains, the moon. It was amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Actually, I didn't see the sunrise over the mountains. I saw the moon rise over the mountains where I was looking. I saw the sun come up on the other side, but the moon, amazing. I have never been so awestruck as I was at those times. But I hope that you can call upon those moments in your life to give you peace, especially for Shabbat. Especially for Shabbat. So we are going to turn to the inside back cover of our prayer book as our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating. I invite you to call out names for whom you would like us to be saying prayers for healing or recuperation. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen in the world today. India is in a lot of trouble, and we've had more shootings this week. And we have still people suffering with COVID. The numbers are younger, but still numbers. And And we have other people for whom we're praying at this point for healing as well. So I invite you to call out some names if you have names that you would like us to be praying for. For all these names, for the names we choose to say in our hearts and not say out loud, we pray together. Oh God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing power as you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. Mi shebeirach avoteinu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mikor habracha lehavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Amen. Something I want to point out, since Sunday will be Mother's Day, you know that when we say prayers for healing in a traditional Jewish world, you'd call out some Hebrew names and not just the names we're more familiar with. But in the Jewish world, most of the time when you're called up with your name in Hebrew, most of the time you are the child of your father. If you get an aliyah to the Torah, they call you up usually as the child of your father. In modern times, in more egalitarian places, you might be called up as the child of both of your parents, but you're called up as the father and possibly the mother. But when it comes to healing, you're always called up as the child of your mother, always, in Jewish tradition, always. And I always used to think of it as it's about mercy and talking to the motherly part of God and appealing to God's motherly side. And so Mother's Day is hard for some people. Some people have lost their mothers, and that makes it difficult. Some mothers have lost their children, and that makes it difficult. So I hope that you have someone with whom or about whom you can be celebrating and appreciating mothers and Mother's Day. And if you don't, then pick some fathers, because fathers help make mothers, and pick some children, because children help make mothers, and pick that. You know, Mother's Day was an American holiday first, and then other parts of the world had to. I mean, if we can have candy, they should have candy. If we can sell whatever. But it's a wonderful thing to celebrate mothers if you can. So please do that. So this is what I wanted to, I'll take this off for a sec, but I had this kind of crazy thought. During this whole pandemic year, stuff has hit me in new ways that it had not ever hit me before when it comes to Torah, and especially living in Torah time. When we were isolated in our homes last year, and we were supposed to celebrate Passover, which was supposed to be about freedom, I had to really kind of twist it around to figure out how that was free, being trapped in your house and not being able to be with your family. And so, yeah, we did some Zoom things and whatever. It didn't feel right. But that year about being in the wilderness where you really didn't know what was going to happen next, that felt a lot like real-time freedom, Moses time. It felt a lot like that, never knowing when we were going to be moving and when we were going to be staying. And we were getting guidelines then, like we just did for all of the book of Leviticus, for example, about what laws we were going to do once we moved into the land of Israel. Not what we could do then, but once we moved, not current. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, this pandemic time has been like that. We prepared for guidelines about what will happen one day when, but the law that we read about in the first of the 2 Torah portions is a law about Shemitah, and it's about counting. So here we are in real time counting the Omer, and we're counting 7 times 7 weeks, but we were also supposed to count years. And we were supposed to count years, and every 7th year we were supposed to let the ground go fallow. And even if you've never grown anything, you know, you've learned that it's not a bad idea that crops should, give the earth a break every once in a while. Even the earth deserves a Shabbat. So that's not so hard. It gets harder to understand when it's things that we can't relate to at all. Like, how do you let the slaves go every 7 years? How do you do that? Or how, and this is the hardest thing for us to understand, I think, how do you not have loans matter in a 7th year, or worse, in a 50th year? How do you eliminate whatever loan there was? What if I had money and I was lending it to somebody, and it's the 5th year or the 6th year, and then they don't have to give it back in the 7th year? That doesn't feel very right. God, what's up with that? Or what if I bought land because I needed more land, and I bought land and I bought it from you, and then in the 7th year, and especially in the 50th year, I had to give it back? There's something about that as a modern person, it doesn't feel right. And we struggled with that. But I want you to think about it in 2 different ways. I want you to imagine being one of those people in the wilderness, which, like I said, this year became way easier for me to imagine being in the wilderness. Imagine you're in the wilderness and you have never owned land. I want you to feel delighted about this prospect of owning land, and that I can't even imagine what circumstances would make me have to be a slave, but whatever it is, I get to be free in the 7th year. And I can't imagine what circumstances, because I am just a newly freed slave and I am wandering in this wilderness, imagine what circumstances it might have taken to have to give away my property, and then I get to get it back again. I never owned property before, but now I get to get it back. So those are glorious ways of thinking about it. But I feel like this year, during the pandemic, I saw this in a whole new light that I had never imagined before. What about if we're not focusing about that 7th year, or even the 50th year? What about if we're focusing on that next year? What does it feel like? So we have just lived through a year where, the joke that I tell all the time is, I don't want to brag, anybody else getting like 6 months to the gallon, So we had a whole year where we weren't using stuff. We weren't using our things. We weren't doing things. We weren't using our money as much. There were a lot of things that we weren't doing because we couldn't, and we made it past that year. The year that we thought we wouldn't be able to make it past, we made it past that year. And now what? Now that we can go back to a year where we don't have to worry about giving back the loans, now what do we do? How many of us are going to be starting right back up again and seeing what we could do about, now that we've started from scratch, we feel a little bit more rested, start all over again? I could tell you that part of the reason why this came up is that a few people approached me this week and said jokingly, I don't know, I had to go back to work, and I am ready for my next lockdown, God forbid, but I'm ready because this is like a lot, and I want to take another break already. And I'm not saying that's what we want, obviously. What I'm saying is, think about what happens next. Now that we've had a year of break, and we get to make choices about what we can do next, where are we now? I found that to be very just refreshing, to feel like we can start over in some way, in positive ways. And what would that look like? I found that to be refreshing. I'm not happy about the 7th year, just like I'm not happy about every time I get to this Torah portion, I'm not happy about it. But I was happy to think about, where do we go next? Madam President, where do we go next? Oh yeah, well, we're going to do that right after you finish. Shabbat Shalom. Max, we on? Yes, now we're on.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy birthday, happy anniversary to everyone celebrating this month. Tonight we will have an Onik Shabbat on Zoom. Give Rabbi enough time to end this service and to start the visit, so it'll probably be about 30 minutes. Tomorrow from 9 to 9:30, we will have Kiddush Shabbat for families. Fill out the form for details about how to attend. We will be in person, but we will also be on Zoom. We will also be in person and on Zoom tomorrow for the 9:45 Torah study and the 11 a.m. Shabbat morning service. Sunday, May 9th, as if I have to tell all the people in this room, happy, happy, happy Mother's Day. Also, after sundown, it is Jerusalem Day. 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 11th, the people of the book club will meet to discuss My Mother's Son by David Hirschberg. You can either register for it through our website or in person or Zoom details. And this coming Thursday at 7 will be Dr. Joel Hoffman, who will speak about the surprisingly modern message of the ancient 10 Commandments. You can join us on Zoom for that. Next week, we will honor our graduating students and celebrate Shavuos when the confirmation class leads the service. Rabbi Jana will lead a Yitzhak service that night. The service will start at 6 p.m. and we will be on YouTube and in person. Rabbi Jana will also head a Shavuos service at 11 a.m. that Monday, May 17th, in person and on Zoom. The office will be closed that day. It is important that congregants plan to attend the annual meeting, which will be at 10:30, Sunday, March 16th. May 16th. I guess, I don't know what I'm thinking.
It probably says March, it's my fault.
Again, it will be in person, it will also be on Zoom. We will have elections, discuss proposals to amend the bylaws and more. Please check the website for all the details. Bringing things for shredding to the office not later than Monday, May 24th. Join the Joseph family as Ivy will lead services at B'nai Zion Friday, May 28th, and at Agudath Ahim Saturday, May 29th, in honor of her becoming a bat mitzvah. We will be putting flags by the graves of veterans before Memorial Day. The B'nai Zion office will be closed for Memorial Day, and then we will switch to summer hours. Again, go to our website, our email, or one call to get the latest information on what is going on. Donations were made to B'nai Zion Sisterhood Flower Fund in loving memory of Shelton Shelley Boren by Aaron Boren, in loving memory of Dr. J. Robert Fry by Roseanne and Bob Fry, in loving memory of Mark Klein by Lori and Larry Ivinsky, and in loving memory of Linda Kesselman Rogers by Gary Rogers. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Stay
Shalom.
safe.
So a few things on there. If you think you're coming tomorrow in person, it helps to fill out the form anyway because there are new guidelines about how to come in person to be safe that I need you to read or ask me afterwards. I don't want to talk about it here because there are security issues, so I don't want to talk about it online. So check online and fill out the form, and you'll get it in your email, whether that's for the kids' service or for the adult service. The Joseph family asked us to contact them if you are planning to be at a Gurutachim that Saturday morning, because they need to have a count of people so that they know how to sit everybody safely. So please contact the family. And I don't know, she's right, everything's on the website. And you may even notice that I've been playing with the website, so tell me what you think as we're modifying it. It's not done yet, but we're playing. At this point, I think we only have one person, from what I can tell, who has a birthday in May. We have more than one person with birthdays or anniversaries. Oh yeah, we got 2 people with birthdays and anniversaries in May. So I need you to come up. On your way up, I want you to pick your favorite birthday present. That includes MJ. You have a choice of the coffee mug, travel mug, or the travel mug, coffee mug, or whichever. Pick one of those. Come on up to the bima. Pick the one you like. We're running lower and lower on the blue ones. Yay, MJ got one. Woot, woot. MJ, how old are you going to be on your birthday? 9? Awesome. I'm not going to ask how old you are. So we say, God of days and years, author of life, our times are in your hand. We thank you for the blessing of life and for all that enriches our lives. We gather today in special thankfulness to share in the happiness of our friends who have birthdays or anniversaries this month. Be with them always as the joy of their lives. May they be blessed with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow. May we have the joy of coming together for many more years, united by mutual reverence and love. Then will our hearts be filled with abundance of blessing. And we're going to have to sing together. There's a song for this, and that was the theme of the day. And this song is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehecheanu v'kimanu v'higianu Lazman hazeh Amen. Would you two like to help open the ark for the Aleinu while everybody turns to page 148 and gets ready to stand when the ark is open? We will honor you with that honor. Ready? Page 148. Come on. Open the ark, please.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And on the facing page we sing ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. When the ark is closed, you may be seated. Don't forget your presents over there. We continue on page 151. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. You know the numbers. I want to add that we have lost 119 police officers this year, 42 firefighters, and you've been watching the numbers of the COVID-related deaths. We're up to over 3,277,000 people in the world. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We turn to page 152, since we sang our service. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives most fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone and every life finds purpose. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We now recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. In our congregation, these parents died this past year: Abry Can Jr., Tommy Crowder, Sophie Lipo, Robert Talbert, Joseph Paris, Artis Robison, and George Rothkopf. And as we remember those who died at this season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. Those for whom we're observing yard sites this week include Isaac Barron, Edith Benson, B. Blumberg, Shelley Boren, Harry Fox, Sally Friedman, Dr. J. Robert Fry, Eve Greenberg, Fanny Chapman Handel, Marion Hirsch, Linda Kesselman Rogers, Mark Klein, Lucille Michel, Reuben Schultz, Stanley L. Sugar, Rebecca Vedlitz, Bill Watson, and Sidney Willer. In this moment of memory, our griefs and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we rise as together we praise your name. The Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 154. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yamru amen. Yeheh shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'almei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu, la'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yeheh shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. You may be seated for a second. We're going to sing a quick thing. Let's do this one, just because it's words that we can do. I'm going to pop it up here. Let's see if I can find my fingers this time. Bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum, chiri biri biri bim bum, bim 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 bum, bim 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 bum. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Chiri, biri, biri, bim, bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Please rise for the closing benediction. Explain to me how if we leave out all the words to the service, we still finish later than when we say everything. How does that happen? Every time I've done this, Jerry, I think, can be my witness for this, because every time I've promised that I would make it a shorter service by cutting everything out, it always winds up being longer. How's that happen? Because I talk too much. I know, but that's my favorite part. It's true. He's right. It's exactly what happens. But I didn't talk more than I did other weeks. It's true. It's exactly right. He's right. I know, but I didn't talk. I know. I didn't think you were being mean. It's true. I talk too much. I also sing too much. And we finish on time, but not early. Bless each other. Help me bless each other. Point to each other if you can, so that you can help me with this. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of God's face shine upon you. Be gracious to you. Feel it. Oh, right on my microphone. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face be lifted up to you, and may God grant you peace. And Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.